simple yet profound. Children see, children do. Show them what you want them to do.
Yeah.
If you don't show them, don't expect them to do what you want them to do. You asked me how is your school unique. One other thing that we do is you have to have a 1 hour playtime every day in school. But you got to be out in the ground physically playing.
Wow.
You can't be in your classroom. You have to get out. You're either dancing or you're singing or you're painting or you're out playing. You got to do this every day 1 hour. Our school goes 1 extra hour than the rest of the schools in Hyderabad just because of this. Because we want to give them that 1 extra hour. Trust me, most kids come to school because of that 1 hour. You play well, you're tired. You will eat well. Since you play well, you're tired, you eat well, you will sleep well. You play well, you eat well, you sleep well, you will do well in school. These are...
They just go hand in hand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a very... it's good contagious thing. Virtuous cycle, I call it. If you were to ask a child who's your favorite teacher, they'll go back to school. Learning is about applying content to a certain context and making sense of it, right? So, if you don't know the context, and if you're just learning content, you don't know where to apply it. What situations does this content fit in? So you don't know where to do it. Oh, these days kids are like this. I'm sorry, they are not like that. They were not born like that. They were made like that by us. Because they want to take a shortcut, finish an answer, submit a work at school, and get their grades so that their dad is happy and the teacher is happy, and they got 2 monkeys off their back. And that's the approach that kids take. I don't want them to do it. I want them to write something original. I want them to think original. I want them to do original. And let's not grade them how good is the original. That it is original, let's celebrate that part. This is how schools haven't done a good job of being with the kids. When I do my work, I want, and you care for it, show me that you care for it. Schools have to demonstrate that more often than not.
Why are screens bad?
I don't want them anywhere near any screen. They should be in the ground, not in front of screens.
So you are saying that there should be no screens for kids in school, right?
I don't want to deprive them of the screen.
Okay.
I want to deprive them of the screen at that age. At the age that they are. They shouldn't be in front of the screen, I think, because they stop playing and their psychomotor skills are going bad. I don't think Sam Altman had screen in his hand when he was 5 or 7 or 10 to be able to come up with AI.
90% of our brain gets developed before 6 years, 75% developed before 2 years of age.
Yeah.
And so all our foundational skills of problem solving, of cognition, of intelligence, creativity, etc. are actually getting developed in those years, and then it stays with you for life, right?
Don't work hard to get a job. Work hard to give a job. And that's what we are trying to do.
Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of the First 90%. Today we are excited to have Mr. Vishwanath Sivaswamy, Director of Tatva Global Schools with us on the show. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here.
Absolutely our pleasure to have an educator on the show. And why don't we start by telling our viewers what Tatva Global is all about, what is your mission with the schools, and also what you're trying to do in this society that you're operating in.
Right, so mission is a big word, but here's what we think. I think we have, in this country we have a culture which goes back 5,000-10,000 years, and I think it's great culture. I want to bring something which is contemporary and marry it with this great culture that we have got, and that's how the school started. The thought of what do schools build into a person, and then what do colleges build into that person, or what do colleges put into that person. So for me it was clearly character building has to happen in school, and children grow up and develop a character which they will exhibit throughout their life. And that happens in school, in their childhood, at home and in school. That's where they make their best friends in life. If you were to ask a child who's your favorite teacher, they'll go back to school. They won't pick anybody from the college, right? So although school teachers are there only for a year in their class, and grade 6 teacher is grade 6 teacher, and then grade 9 teacher is different, whereas your professor of economics probably is going to teach you all the 4 years in the college. However, you pick the grade 6 teacher versus the 4-year economic teacher. So there's something that the school is doing to the child. And I think somewhere we are losing out on what the schools are supposed to do, and we're making it much more cognitive rather than making much more effective, which is from the heart, right? So keep it with the heart in the school. Let the kid develop everything that he needs to develop into a character. Leave him out in the college with those characteristics that he has developed at school and at home. And then I think you will find a fine citizen. And that's what we are trying to do. If that's a mission, that's a mission.
So you made a very interesting point that if you ask any kid who your favorite teacher is, they'll probably name somebody from school. But why is that? Why do you think that is the case? Because I would think that a college is a much more informed choice. Because in school you're being forced to learn whatever the school is teaching you.
True.
College, you've made the conscious decision to go to that particular college, pick that particular course, pick that particular professor in some instances. So why do you think that happens?
I think you're making an unemotional decision when you do it in college. It's more of what do I want, and therefore which college am I going to choose or which professor I'm going to choose, versus I like this professor, the way he walks or the way he talks or the way he plays with me or how much he likes me.
Yeah.
It's not how much he likes. He doesn't like me, it doesn't matter to me as long as I can learn something from him. So it's more of a selfish, in a way, selfish pick for me to choose a professor. Whereas in school, the teacher just loves me. No matter what. How good I am doesn't matter. How bad I am doesn't matter. She just likes me. She just takes care of me. And I have a small story to say on the side. Look at how kids get into school. When they get into school in a kindergarten, they're literally holding on to the pallu of the teacher and walking around. The teacher is the Pied Piper of the class, right? She walks, everybody walks. The 20 kids walk behind her. She turns around and stops, and everybody stops. So it's like that. From there, the kind of trust that the child places in the teacher is because of the boundless love that teachers give you. They like you because of who you are, not because of how good you are or what you are good at. And that's what I think is the reason why you stick to them. I haven't found anybody who hates their mother. So that probably extension of that is what is happening in school. You find somebody who is like your mother, and she does many things like your mother, and therefore you fall in love with her or with him in school. And therefore kids like teachers in school, and they pick teachers. This is my favorite teacher. And it's also a spillover there. I picked up on maths because I liked my math teacher, not because I knew what was for me in math. I didn't know what was in for it. So I just liked the way he looked at me, he spoke to me, he asked me questions. Did you have your lunch? Did you enjoy your lunch? Was all he asked me. I fell in love with the man. And since I fell in love with the man, I did everything that he told me. The result of it, I picked up math.
So you wanted to, in some sense, get more of his love, earn his
exactly, to please him.
To please him.
To please him was more of, oh, he likes me, so let me do things that he likes.
Yeah.
Right? And then he likes me to do my homework, so I will do it. He wants me to submit something on time, I will do it, and I will do it, and I will do it. And he knew how he could make me do things. Yeah. And he got me to do things. Eventually, I got the results.
So actually, the point that you bring up, I think it's such a powerful concept, which is actually new to me as well. So what we are trying to say is that if you want your child to do well, you just need them to feel loved. Is that what we are
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. If they feel loved, if they feel that they are wanted, then they will return that you are wanted to me because you want me, I want you too.
And they will do what
and they will do what you want them to do. Exactly. That's right.
That's the sure way of getting them on the path of learning.
Absolutely. And disproportionately. Let me tell you what is the disproportion here. One of my friends said this to me when we were talking. If you give a kid 2 hours of your day, they will give you back 22. Wow, that's 11 times disproportionately to what we give them, isn't it? So why can't we give those 2 hours to them and get back the 22 that we actually look forward to?
That's just so amazing, because what we are trying to say is that, and you're right, because as a 7-8-year-old child, you don't know why you should do well in math.
Right.
And the why is so important. You don't know why you should do it.
Exactly.
But maybe the reason to do it is to just please the teacher.
True. And we do things to please our mother, don't we? I mean, we go home and say, my mom likes this for me to do. So you'll do it, and your mom is like, oh, wow, you did this. And that's great feeling, isn't it?
Absolutely fascinating.
Yeah. So they do. Kids do a lot of things. They don't come to school because they know they are studying. They come to school because they love their teacher and teacher loves them. They come there to play with their friends. They come there because they can do things that they're not stopped from doing.
Yeah.
And when you give them that freedom, they love their school. And when kids love schools, they will do everything that the school wants them to do.
Yeah.
And that's how you get them to do the schooling.
Can you tell us a little bit about the school that you run? How big it is? Where is it? What kind of board? Just the basics.
It's a CBSE school. It's in Hyderabad, very close to the thickly populated place of Hyderabad called Kukatpalli. And we have 10 acres of land. We are a school which does day boarding, meaning we give them breakfast and lunch in the school. We have a capacity for about 3,500 students, and we have lots of play areas. And kids come to school because they know they can play.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest attraction, right? So coming into the school, looking at the ground, and they're like, okay, I get to play here.
Okay.
And then since they know they get to play here, we also kind of not tell them, but get them to do things that we want from them, because we give them that time.
Which are, of course, good for them.
Yeah. They don't know that it is good for them. We know that it is good for them, but you can't, don't try to oversell education. Right?
Yeah.
You got to slide it into them without them realizing that.
It has to be fun.
It has
to be fun, right? And it has to come from within.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. So earlier you were talking about your mission for the school and how you also touched upon the heritage of 5,000, 10,000 years of our country's history. And the school is also called Tatva Global. What is it that you do differently from other schools which are of similar size, similar infra, maybe like, CBSE board? What is it? What is your unique thing that you do in your school?
Yeah, okay. So I won't call this unique, but I think it's the combination is a unique thing.
Okay.
And what the combination is, there are lots of schools which focus on sport as a key activity within the school, right? They have the infrastructure and they do focus on that. But probably they don't focus on the values. And there are lots of schools which focus on the values but don't focus on the sport part of it. And then there are lots of schools which focus on the cognitive, the lessons, the ranks and all that stuff, but they don't focus on the other things. So schools have bucketed themselves into one of these things, not all of these things. What we're trying to do is to get all of these things to work together. I'll give you an example. We claim that we are a school which actually practices values to teach values to children. We don't want to teach them values from a book. I think values have to be taught by practicing. I mean, you can't learn riding a bicycle from reading a book. So you can't learn how to live a valued life by reading about values. So just reading about values. You have to practice those values, right? So that's the one which we are bringing from.
And how do you
the
do
past.
that? Can you give an example?
So we have 11 values for 11 months of a year, May being the holiday month for the school. Every day, literally every day, these 11 values are practiced in the school every hour of the class.
Okay.
So we talk about it for 2 minutes. Let's say being responsible is one of the values that we have got, right? Out of the 11 values, one value I'm giving you as an example, being responsible. So every time the teacher comes into the class, let's say when the math teacher walks into the class at 10 o'clock in the morning, the teacher spends 2-3 minutes about, okay, how did you be responsible today? What did you do? Or what was it that, what is being responsible to you? What does it mean to you? What did you do today? Did you do something at home? So he gets the class going around talking about being responsible for a few minutes and then starts the math class. An hour later, the science teacher walks in, starts the same thing.
Wow.
An hour later, the social studies teacher walks in, does the same thing.
For the whole month, you are practicing the same
Not just the month, right? Now you move from grade 3 to grade 4.
Yeah.
Same thing again, being responsible. Same 11 values. 5th class, same 11 values.
Same
12th
11
class,
values repeated every year.
every year,
for
same
one
month.
Okay.
So kids will tell you from January to December, which month, what value, what it is. So it's stuck in their head. It's not very different from how advertisers work, right? So if you see an advertisement, I mean, some of those jingles, if you just listen to them, you know what ad it is.
Yeah.
Right? We are not doing any different from that. We're playing on the minds of the child to say that you keep doing this, keep doing this, keep doing this, that now it becomes you.
Part of you.
It's now part of you. And you will. These 11 values drive 27 virtues of the logo that we have got. The logo we have got is 27 leaves. They are 27 virtues. Virtues are those that you exhibit unconsciously. Values are those you practice. You're practicing these values, you exhibit those virtues, and then you become a global citizen, which is trusted, honest. People can come to you for what they think you will help them for. And that's all we want them to be. If they're a doctor, good. If they're an engineer, good. But if they have to be a good human being, is what we are trying to put into them. Yeah. So that's the values practice that we have a large infrastructure, covered swimming pool, covered badminton courts, basketball courts, cricket, football, etc., etc. We want children to play. So they learn values, they also play, they eat good food, they also learn lessons in the school. So we put all of them together. Is it working at the level of efficiency that I would like to see it? Not yet. We are only about 10 years old. Okay. But eventually we will get there. I think schools should be doing this. At least from my point of view, schools should be doing this. I don't want to be teaching them what they should be learning in college. Let them learn in college. Let them be good human beings here. And this they will use for life. You make your best friends in school, I think. Most of the people, if you go around and ask them, who's your best friend? Most likely it is somebody from school. And that's what happens to people.
So when you say that let them learn things that they'll learn in school and leave out things that they will learn in college, what do you exactly mean by that?
What I saw was, from the time I went to school to the time I started the school, things have changed in this country where we are trying to compress things and bring, let's say, the entrance examination preparation into grade 6 or grade 7. I wouldn't advocate that. I don't think children are ready for that yet. I've seen some schools come up with computer science in grade 6. Wait a minute, what are you doing? Why do they... I learned Fortran in college. I don't think people can even spell it now, right? You don't even know that something existed like that. There's BASIC and COBOL nobody uses anymore. Things change. Technology changes so fast that what you learn in school is not going to matter to you when you're in college or at work. Even at work, when you started work, to the time that you are a manager or somebody 10 years into work, things have changed. Things change so fast in this. You don't have to learn them in school. You can learn them at a different point in time when you grow up. The other problem with this teaching computer science in school is you're forcing children to use gadgets. And I don't want them anywhere near any screen. They should be in the ground, not in front of screens. And the more you put in front of them, you know this better than anybody, the more you put them in front of screens, you're not letting them become people.
So let's actually explore that a little bit more. And because there are people on both sides of this debate, right? And especially for older kids. And I think screens have permeated every school. Like most schools now have iPads for kids, etc. Why are screens bad? Why do you think that? So you are saying that there should be no screens for kids in school, right? Not limited, but absolutely no screens. Why is it?
But this question you should be answering.
No, so I know the answer for babies and toddlers.
Yeah.
But that's a little bit of a different reason, if I can. And we were talking about it because when you show screens to babies and toddlers,
Exactly.
what is happening is that usually they're watching a video on screen, right? And when they're watching a video, it's a one-way communication.
True.
And at that age, when they're 1 year, 1.5 years old, or even less than that, babies are very, very fast learners, and they learn by watching, they learn by doing. And when they're only getting one-way communication from a video, they very quickly learn not to respond back, right? So it leads to speech delay and also cognitive function delay because they're getting so much stimulus from the screen that it overwhelms them, and it also leads to cognitive function delay. So that's a very different reason, which is established by United Nations and research, etc. That if you expose your baby or toddler to screen time, it leads to speech and cognitive delay. So please do not do that. You'll be touring doctors and therapists later on, and it's extremely bad. And just to clarify, listening to songs on the screen is absolutely okay, and we are fine with that as well. It's just the video that is the problem, right? But for older kids, when there is so much technology now, and we all hear about how AI is going to take over the world.
True.
If you are depriving them of screen, right? Is it actually a deprivation, or actually you are actually like benefiting them by keeping them away?
I don't want to deprive them of the screen.
Okay.
I want to deprive them of the screen at that age. At the age that they are. They shouldn't be in front of the screen, I think, because they stop playing and their psychomotor skills are going bad. I'll give you one example. One small experiment that we did in school. For 2 years, there was a lockdown.
Yeah.
Kids were at home. They were learning online. Then they came back to school. Many of them were unhealthy. For lack of giving you the details, I'm just trying to tell you that they were literally unhealthy.
Right.
Because they were sitting on the couch and looking at the screens all the time.
Correct.
Right? When I went to school, there are fewer kids who are wearing spectacles. I see 50% of the school right now wearing spectacles.
Wow.
Where is that coming from?
Yeah.
Why is that coming from? So there are other problems that kids have got. Then on the cognitive side, I tell kids, this is the way I explain to kids, that your brain is also muscle. It needs exercise. If you look into a screen, copy the answer and put it on paper and submit it as your work, it's not your work. You haven't thought about it. And tomorrow, if there was no screen and you and I were to have a conversation about that topic, you won't be able to say anything because you never thought about it. You just picked it up from somewhere, put it on paper and submitted it. So if I was to change the way I test you, instead of writing, speaking, you'd probably fail, right? So I don't think children are exercising that muscle. They are not going to be creative. They are not going to be intuitive. They will lose all those skills, which are so much important. If this happens to the society, I doubt where is our next AI going to come from. This AI has come from because people were not exposed to screen, have actually gone and thought about it at a different point in time of their life to be able to come up with this. I don't think Sam Altman had screen in his hand when he was 5 or 7 or 10 to be able to come up with AI. So should they be doing it at all? Not until a certain age. After that, they can do it. They can do it when they're 18. They're now ready for screens. They're probably not ready when they're 16 or 14 because they want to take a shortcut, finish an answer, submit a work at school, and get their grades so that their dad is happy and the teacher is happy, and they got 2 monkeys off their back. And that's the approach that kids take. I don't want them to do it. I want them to write something original. I want them to think original. I want them to do original. And let's not grade them how good is the original. That it is original, let's celebrate that part, right? Eventually, when they go to work, they have to work with somebody, with something which is useful for the client. At that time, let them use these tools for what is required for their clients. Right now, it should be them, not the clients.
There's a lot of talk about teaching 21st century skills to kids in schools. And in the last couple of years, we've seen the advent of AI and how it's rapidly already transforming education and is expected to do so even more in the coming years. What is your viewpoint on that? Are you going to incorporate that in school? Are you already doing it? In what ways are you doing it?
We're already doing it. So the national education policy that has come up has these 21st century skills embedded into them. And they are also coming into the lessons and everything, right? So somewhere the value-based questions that kids will be assessed or asked for to explain will depend on these 21st century skills, which is good. The one I like about the 21st century skills, the most I like about the 21st century skills, and I'm also worried about it, is creativity, right? That's one of the 21st century skills. I think the biggest elephant in the list of skills they've got. I think that will die if we use these screens. If we keep telling kids, go do this and go do that, they will develop creativity. But if we give them answers ready-made, they are not being creative. And you will find most of them, right now we assess kids, right? When we give them work for them to do at home and bring it back, there are some answers. About 50% of the class look almost identical. And we know where they picked it up.
Of course,
right?
yeah.
So, and then we go back and tell them, look, I understand that you had to do this for some reason. I don't know why, but I think it doesn't represent you. For example, if Raghav is the student, this is not Raghav. I don't know your idea. This is Google's idea, or somebody in Google's idea. Somebody who's written it there. Google has picked it up and thrown it out at you. Now, I want to know what is Raghav's opinion about this.
What's the solution to this? This is
Well,
inevitable.
kids do right. Kids come back and they say, okay, I will give you my opinion.
Okay.
All right. They are willing to engage in a conversation if we engage them in the conversation. The problem is that we give them work and we walk away from there and we expect them to do it. And then that's when they say, okay, since you're not watching me and since you're not interested in me, when you walked away from a kid, you demonstrate that you're no more interested in the kid. Stay with the kids. Be with the kids. Then they will show you what they can or they want to. We don't do that as often. Right? I'll give you schools creating some problems. Parents contribute to this in a big way, but schools creating these problems. We give work to kids at home. Kids come back and submit the work. If I don't evaluate that work and write my comments and say, great work, I like this part of your work, you could have done here better, think about these points, etc., and give you those comments back and said, great work, Raghav, you did fantastic. What do you think you will do the next time? You will come back with better work. But if I was never to give you that feedback, what do you think Raghav will do? He will say, my teacher doesn't care.
Yeah.
And when the
that's
teacher doesn't
exactly
care,
what has happened in my life.
Exactly. When you don't care for the child is not going to submit the work.
Yeah.
And then you tell him that, oh, this is going to be an assessment and there are marks and I'm going to report them, blah, blah, blah. Very good. I'll go to Google. I'll get the answer because that's what you want. You don't care for my answer. You care for an answer, which is not necessarily mine. So that's what kids end up doing. This is how schools haven't done a good job of being with the kids. When I do my work, I want, and you care for it, show me that you care for it. Schools have to demonstrate that more often than not. Parents, both are working parents. They leave their kids at home and they go away. And they carry their work home. Parents have more homework these days than kids have. You're working at home. What do you think your kid will do? He has to find something to engage himself. And it's not you. So he will find some other way to engage himself. And he will get disconnected from you. And when he gets disconnected, don't complain. It was not his first choice. You were his first choice. You made him change that choice. You made it different for him. And when you make it different for him, don't come back and say, oh, these days kids are like this. I'm sorry, they are not like that. They were not born like that. They were made like that by us. We are the ones to blame for this. So go back, be with the kids, tell them they are good, watch them. How many parents go and watch their kids play a game? How many kids go with their children to watch a game which their kids like? My son likes football. If I'm not going with him to watch a game of football, shame on me. I'm not demonstrating to him that I like what you like and therefore I'm there for you. And when I let him go, then he does things on his own. I shouldn't be complaining that, oh, they don't care for us anymore.
They don't listen.
They don't listen. They don't care.
Yeah.
They don't care for parents. They don't care for grandparents. They don't do this. They don't.
I think
so
that's
many
an
things.
extremely important point, because we sort of treat kids as different species. Like they are kids, they're different, but it is so much more reciprocal with them, right? Because it's absolutely unfiltered. There is no selfishness or ulterior motive,
Right.
but it is still reciprocal.
Reciprocal.
You show your kids that you care, and they will reciprocate that back to you by listening to you, by respecting you a lot more, following your thoughts and values, etc. Right? I think that's what you're also trying to say.
I give you one line which is simple yet profound. Children see, children do. Show them what you want them to do.
Yeah.
If you don't show them, don't expect them to do what you want them to do. If you don't demonstrate, don't expect this. So it's a great statement. It's very simple. It sounds so simple, right? Children see,
Yeah.
full stop, children do, period, right? That's it. It's 4 words. It has deep meaning. Just figure it out.
So let's steer the conversation in a different direction. For your school, when you look at the kids graduating from your school, and then you maybe 10, 15, 20 years down the line, what are the markers for success that you would look at which are measurable for kids graduating from your school?
I would go and
it could actually, let me rephrase that. Not necessarily 15, 20 years later, but it could be like maybe like a couple of years later as well. What are the markers for success that as a school you would be gunning for?
Okay. So my first thing would be, are you the first number that I would call when I'm in trouble? If Raghav is the number that I would call when I'm in trouble.
You mean in the peer group?
In the peer group, or as friends as I go out, or I'm a doctor and you're a patient, or you're the doctor and I'm the patient. And are you the number that I'm going to call when I'm in trouble? If I don't, if it's not your number, then probably I don't trust you. And that's what matters most to people. Who do you call when you're in trouble, right? He is the person that you think is the best in the world. Right? He will get me out of trouble. So I got to call this guy. He'll get me out of trouble. It's not 911. In India, who do you call when you're in trouble? You don't call 100, right? Unless your house is on fire. You don't call them. Right? But if it is a small incident or something that you should be going to the police, you don't call them. You solve it with other friends or this or that and somehow get things done. And you go to the person you trust most. So what does school put inside you is that factor that the rest of the world can trust you for it. That's what school puts you. That's what your family puts into you.
Yeah.
Right? So the 2 things that you learn as a kid and keep with you forever is Raghav the guy who will get me out of something? When I'm in, can I call him? I feel bad. I need to call him. He's the one who will tell me the right thing to do. He'll always be honest. He'll tell me what is right. He'll get me out of trouble. And if that's the person that I am, then I think I've done well from school, right?
In your viewpoint, how important are things like wealth and status as markers of success? Because I know that for a lot of people, even if they don't say it openly, inherently, those are the traditional markers of success that people look at, evaluate, judge, everything.
Right. I'll give you the statement and an analogy for this. I think the outcomes of success should be wealth. Wealth cannot be the reason for you to try to be successful. You're trying something and you can declare yourself as I'm successful because here's one of the scoreboards of that. One of them. One of them is wealth. It's not all of it.
Yeah.
Right? It could be just you saying, I can go to bed every night and sleep well. And that is your scoreboard. Not that the world can see it. It doesn't matter. But the one that world can see it is your wealth that you create, right? So wealth is one scoreboard, not the entire scoreboard. So don't drive yourself to do something because you want to create wealth. Drive yourself to do something because you love it. And then since you do it so well, you also created wealth as an outcome of it, as one of the outcomes of it, which is good. Wealth is not bad. Wealth is good, actually. But don't drive it for that sake. So if you're driving wealth, you could end up doing things which you don't want to do in the first place.
True.
So the opposite is true. Don't drive it for wealth. Drive it for something else. Wealth can be one of the outcomes. I'll tell you one analogy for this. So Sachin Tendulkar is this successful cricketer, right? Did he do it because he wanted to get to that scores? No. It's because he loved the game.
He loved it.
He just loved the game.
Yeah.
And he loved it so much that he always did his best. His best was 18,000 or 20,000 runs that he has scored. And that's all it is. And that's the wealth that he has created for himself. But he did not start with, I want to create wealth from cricket. He did it because I love cricket. I'm going to do this because this is what I think I will enjoy in my life.
Yeah.
Result of it, he did great. And I think most of the sportsmen, most successful people drive it that way.
Yeah.
I'm yet to come across people who said that I want to create wealth and therefore fell in love with something. That has not happened.
Yeah. But so related to that, how important is it to go to the right colleges after, say, graduating from your school to be able to follow your passions and ultimately create wealth, status, etc. So going to Ivy Leagues, IITs, IIMs, is that important, not important? How do you factor it into your school system as well?
I think it is very important. I won't belittle it by saying that, it is not very important to go to a good college. You have to go to a good college because good colleges have got good infrastructure, good professors, good everybody, right? Good alumni, good alma mater. So you got to be there in that place if you can be.
Yeah.
Right? But don't beat yourself down to say that, I am not good for this world because I could not get into an MIT or an IIT, right? So that is not correct. But the other way around, it is easy to be successful if you go to one of these colleges.
Right.
It's easier. I call it, you got your foot in the door in this world if you go to an IIT, right? Your foot is in the door. For somebody else, they still have to push the door. If they don't go to IIT. So that's the difference between the two. Now it's a matter of what you do inside that school as well. It's not enough that you just get into the school, right? I'll give you, there are a lot of people who celebrate the first ranker who gets into IIT Bombay or IIT Delhi, the All India first ranker on JEE who goes to IIT Bombay or IIT Delhi or Chennai or wherever. Nobody is celebrating the gold medalist from IIT Bombay. And that, I think, is not good.
Yeah.
It's equally good or probably more good to be celebrating the gold medalists who pass out of these colleges as well, just as much as we celebrate the topper of All India JEA.
Yeah, but the reason is that because it's all business, right? The coaching centers celebrate it because they can get more students. IIT Bombay doesn't need to advertise. They're anyway getting it.
Right.
So,
True. That's the way they are pushing us. But we as people, right?
Yeah.
We as people who have come out of these colleges have been involved with this society, with this world. I think somewhere we will have to encourage and tell colleges that, guys, it's important for you to. We don't want you to make a big splash all over in all India television, right? That is not what we're looking for. But at least put it out in the big newspapers to say that so and so he's the topper of IIT Bombay. It is important.
Yeah.
It is very important.
So, as you said, that it is a foot in the door, right? So, and earlier you were talking about how we don't want to sort of bring college kind of pressure into schools as well. And a lot of people struggle with this, right? Because as we are acknowledging, it is important, but we don't want to put pressure too early on the child as well. But everybody around the parent is doing it.
Right.
So you are feeling left out. You're feeling like, okay, am I lagging behind? Other kids are going ahead. So I know it's not right for my child as they're growing up, but then I'm losing out on the opportunity.
Right.
So what is your take on that?
I think you are always caught in this conundrum,
Yeah.
right? Should I or should I not? Should I or should I not? Should I let my child do what he wants to do and take time to do what he wants to do versus should I push him because he's 16, he doesn't know what he wants to do or he's not yet. So let me push him into this and then he will figure out what happens on the other side of the college. I would advocate, if you can afford it, take time. Let your child not get into IIT when he's 17 or 18. Let him do it at 20. Which IIT is stopping you from doing it at 20? So you take your 2 years or 3 years to figure out what exactly you want to do and then go and take the pressure. That's one for those who can afford it. Again, I want to. This is not something which fits all.
Yeah.
You got to figure out where you stand, right? I did for my son. I let him do it, and he was not until he was 27. He was not productively involved in something for himself until he was 27 years old. I could afford it for him to, but my dad could not. I had to be productive by the time I was 21. So right in my family, here are two examples. One where I had to be productive at 21 and therefore I had to hustle to get there. And my son doesn't have to hustle to get there. When I went to college, jobs had retirement at 58 or 60 or something like that. Today I find there are jobs which you don't have to retire from. You can keep doing it.
As
right?
long as you want
as
to,
long as you
you're
want to,
doing
as
it well.
long you love it, and as long as you are able, right? People are willing to keep you there. So keep doing it. There's no rush that you have to get into a job at 21 because you got this 40 years of earning and then you stop. It doesn't happen that way. That happens only for sportsmen. They have to be fit at 20, start doing it, and by the time they're 30 or 35, they're old for the sport. That doesn't happen for work. So you don't have to do that, right? So you got to find this balance of, am I pushing my child too early? Or should I push him at a time when he's ready to be pushed around? And if he's ready and you push him, he can take the pressure. He will perform at that point in time. I think it is too early for somebody to decide that IIT is the way I'm going at 13 and starts this at IIT or NEET or whatever it is, right? So give them time if you can. If you can't, you can't. Maybe the next generation can in your family. I hope everybody gets into this situation where they can take that extra couple of years, step back and say, wait, let me do this, and then I will do that.
Got it.
Yeah.
So the school that you run is CBSE. What is your view on the different boards? Does that factor into how somebody's life or somebody's college opportunities and career shapes up? If somebody does CBSE versus ICSE or A levels, IB board, what is your view on that?
I would advocate that you choose something which is local. The Americans have to choose a board which is local to them. The Europeans have to choose a board which is local to them. And us Indians have to choose a board which is local to us. I'll tell you what's the difference. Primarily, you bring content and put it into context. Learning is about applying content to a certain context and making sense of it, right? So if you don't know the context, And if you're just learning content, you don't know where to apply it. What situations does this content fit in? So you don't know where to do it. So I got to constantly give you the context along with the content. I'll give you an example. If I tell you, what do you make out of a number 100? You don't know what to say. You could say it is 10 square, or it could be 20 times 5, or it could be 5 times 20, or some such thing, right? But if I was to tell you, I now put context around it. 100 rupees. That makes sense to you. 100 oranges. That makes sense to you. Now I'm putting context around the number, right? For everything, if you don't put the context, it makes no meaning. Content per se doesn't make any sense. Rama was this lord of Ayodhya and he did this. Wait, what's the context? Whenever you are in this situation, you take these lessons from what you learned about Rama and then apply it, right? That's the context thing that we always have to bring into education. When you learn IB in India, our teachers don't know the context. They know the local context. And then you're telling them to bring content from somewhere else to apply it to local context. It doesn't work. It works only for some time, but it doesn't work every time. Local content and local context works very well. So choose boards which are local. And I won't rank boards in India as one above the other. Every board is good. I picked CBSE specifically because I think CBSE gives you the width to do what you like to do. It's a board that makes or conducts assessments while you are in grade 10 and in grade 12. And then they tell you, you have the skills or you don't. And that's all they do. It's up to the school to figure out how they are teaching. CBSE doesn't intrude into those areas. They give you a framework to say, your school has to be of this size, the classroom has to be of this size, the number of children in a classroom. This will make you effective as a school, and therefore you're affiliated to CBSE, and that's it. Now, what you do in the class, please, they recommend a lot of things. They send you lots of circulars to say, we recommend this, we do this, do that, do this, do that, do this, do that. But it's not mandated. Out of those, many schools pick what is relevant to them and they go on to do it. And so I think CBSE gives you that elbow room to do, as a school educator, you do get a lot of elbow room when you are CBSE. I'm not very sure about that elbow room in the other boards. I think they're a little more prescriptive than subscriptive. So this is the difference that I found within.
How important do you think is the choice of the board versus the choice of the school in college admissions and in how you shape up to be as a child going into adulthood? Is the school more important or is the board more important?
The school is more important. To me, the school is more important. If I was a parent, I would look at the school. Does this school give a platform to my child to perform?
Right.
For example, I would say, does it have a ground to play? So if my child at 12 starts to pick up a game and he plays really well, does the school have everything in it? Or should I be taking him from this school to another coaching center and put him into coaching in this tennis or something? So I'm running between the school and the tennis academy and all of that stuff. So if the school was to do tennis, then I would put him in a school.
So if there was an IB school versus a CBSE school, and the IB school had the
ability to do tennis and
better infra, so you would say that doesn't matter that IB is out of context. You would still.
I would still choose the school to say they are, but my child probably is not going to be cognitively as efficient as somebody who's locally picked up a local board, but he probably has more exposure to other things than But CBSE doesn't stop you from being a big school. To give you CBSE is not telling you don't be like IB school, which gives swimming also, tennis also, horse riding also. They didn't tell you don't do that. It's just that schools chose not to do it. So why blame board for schools not choosing what they are supposed to do?
It's not about blaming the board. It's also about
Mandating it.
No, it's also about like where in the country you are living, right? Like because it's how much access you have. Whether if the school, there might not be a school that you want near where you live.
Very true.
And there might be a school where you're not getting admission.
Absolutely.
So that's also a big problem these days, right?
True.
And maybe there is a school that has the facilities, but it's more expensive, so admissions are easier.
Right.
But it's an IB board.
Correct.
So
So you do have this. I mean, keeping those in mind, I still think that CBSE gives you the width that you want to do as a school. But if for example, we chose a 10-acre school. We could have chosen a 2-acre school. But we made a choice.
yeah.
And it was a choice because we think that we want our curriculum to be like this. Curriculum being the board plus the activities plus everything put together. The scholastic and the non-scholastic activities, everything come together. Coming together is what I call as curriculum. So we chose a curriculum which exposes the child to all of this. And then in Hyderabad, I've seen schools which are affiliated to the central board, CBSE, in a 2-acre land. They do exist. We also exist. We chose this way, they chose that way. The parent can choose which ones they can based on affordability or based on access or based on how far they are from the school, etc., etc. So I don't think the board actually matters. What matters is what is the school willing to provide. The second one that matters is what is the parent willing to pay.
Yeah.
All of these have to come together to make sense out of it. I also found many parents coming and telling me, isn't it easy for my child to go to an IB school and then go away to Europe or the US? The answer is no, it is not easy. If a child is going to be in that school and is not good, he's not good. So let's accept the fact that he's not good, right? Probably he's good somewhere else.
Yeah.
So if you think it is an automatic visa to go to somewhere outside of India, then you're mistaken. That's not correct, right? You still have to do a lot of things there. Your child will struggle. You won't be able to help. Teachers are not equipped, trained well enough, etc. Right? So many other things matter, and all these things put together. The other thing I tell parents is, India still sends, let's say, 100,000 people to US colleges. 98,000 of them come from CBSE schools or other schools.
Yeah, of course.
Right? So what's the big deal with this Ivy school, that you have to go to Ivy school to get an automatic
No,
admission?
IB school is anyway a very new phenomenon in India.
Right.
I know that in your school you are providing a lot of opportunities for sports and extracurriculars as well, right? To what extent do you support your students if, for example, if somebody wants to be a track and field athlete or any kind of sport they want to pursue, right? To what extent are you guys able to provide the support to help them become a professional in something outside of academics?
We're still in the making on that aspect of it. Track and field we don't have yet. Okay. But for example, I'll tell you, we have a student in archery.
Okay.
She's so good with her archery. She's state champion, and she's going. We give her fee off. She doesn't have to pay fees as much as the others. She gets a scholarship. She gets to go and finish her archery training as well as competitions. When she comes back, teachers help her on those off days when she is available so that she can pick up school, right? So she doesn't have to go to the class every day like the others. She still gets minimally what she needs to be able to finish her schooling in not as low as 40% or 50%, but a 70 or a 75. She does want 75. Actually, she wants 90. She does well in sport. So since she has to go away, teachers find ways to get in front of her when she is available.
Right.
And she gets attendance off, she gets some fees off, or a lot of fees off, and teachers help her.
And
so
do
that's
you have
where we're
a
getting
structured way to recognize this kind of talent,
Yes.
or did it happen accidentally?
So for this one accidentally, we have skaters who do that. There was a skater who represented India and went to Seoul. He's now passed out of the school. And then now we have a cricketer, a girl cricketer who's looking to represent India in cricket. She's really good. So we are trying to find ways of allowing her to do what she wants to do. She has access. If she doesn't have access, then the school is willing to provide. She has access. Her dad is taking her around and making sure that she's getting her practice, she's getting her coaching, and she's able to go and represent the state in cricket. Eventually, when she plays for India, all of us are going to be proud, not just the school, right? She and her parents and everybody in India is going to be proud that she is a cricket player in India. So we did our bit that the parent asked us to do. If there is more for the parent, we are willing. It's just that parents, the kind of parents that come to us are asking for X, and we are able to provide that X. And if they want 5X, I'd walk that mile, extra mile to do that for them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it is important for us.
Are these extracurriculars and sports mandatory for every student,
Good
boy
question.
and girl?
Good question. Good. It is. So this is the one that you asked me, how is your school unique? And I said a few things. One other thing that we do is you have to have a 1 hour playtime every day in school. 1 hour playtime every day in school. It was not given to me when I went to school.
When you say playtime, what is it? Is it
You
because
have-
playtime could be like free time, or it could be
No,
like
it's a little bit.
structured sporting activity?
For those who want structured, for those who want free play. But you got to be out in the ground, physically play.
Wow.
You can't be in your classroom. You have to get out. You are either dancing, or you're singing, or you're painting, or you're out playing. You got to do this every day, 1 hour. Our school goes 1 extra hour than the rest of the schools in Hyderabad just because of this. Because we want to give them that 1 extra hour. They live in apartments where there's no space to play.
Yeah.
Most of us in the cities don't have any place to play at home, right? We are on the street. And the schools are also on the street. You get into the school, you just get into the gate of the school and that's the building. And there's no ground to play.
Yeah.
So where do kids play? How will they play? Right? So we made it mandatory, not just provide the ground, but provide the time as well to play.
Yeah.
You got to have a schedule which says 1 hour playtime. This is what I tell the principal. First, please put the 1 hour aside, and then you can take the rest of the hours for your cognitive stuff.
Yeah.
You got to give them that hour to do what they like to do. Trust me, most kids come to school because of that 1 hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, they love that 1 hour.
Yeah.
So because of that 1 hour, they love to get to school. So I'll give you an example. If there was swimming class for grade 6, you will find most of the grade 6 kids in school on that day, even if they were not so well. I'm coughing. No, I got to go, because they will hide their cough or cold or whatever because they want to get into the pool. Right? Because that's the 1 hour they get for the week
Yeah.
to swim. And since they come to school,
Yeah.
they will find some ways to learn something.
Yeah.
Right? And we will find ways to teach them things. I want to make one correction in here. So, curricular, extracurricular, right? So most of the people use this extracurricular. I'm not a big fan of that term extracurricular. I think playing is part of the curriculum, should be part of the curriculum. And so we split it as scholastic and non-scholastic,
Okay.
or co-scholastic, right? This is activities that help the scholastic activities. You play well, you're tired. You will eat well. Since you play well, you're tired, you eat well, you will sleep well. You play tired, you play well, you eat well, you sleep well, you will do well in school. These are...
They just go hand in hand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a very... it's good contagious thing. Virtuous cycle, I call it.
Yeah.
You fall into the virtuous cycle, it's good for you.
Awesome. Anything else that you would like to share with the viewers? Anything that you want to talk about
No, I want to talk to you about what the stuff that you do. What can we learn
Sure.
in schools? What could we do in schools from the work that you are doing when they are young? And what can be extrapolated into when they are older, like a 7-year-old or a 12-year-old? I have my thoughts on it, but I'd like to know more from you on what I could take from you to go to my school?
Our key insight is that what we say is the following, right? Like every baby at birth has limitless potential, infinite potential at birth. But the problem is that 90% of our brain is getting developed in the first 6 years before they go to school, right? And neither do parents know that. And if they do know that, they don't know what should we be doing in those first few years where the 90% of the brain is developing. So that's why we try to sort of channelize the parents' energy and time in as little as 5 minutes a day to make sure that they are giving their baby and their toddler the right stimulus and right opportunities in a very fun environment so that all their foundational skills are getting developed in those first 6 years, right? So that's what we do. Now, what happens after 6 years, biologically speaking, is that the child goes from being right-brained to becoming left-brained. So they become more logical. They start thinking, expressing their thoughts more logically, analytically, and thinking deeper, etc. Now, in the first 6 years, what we do is we lay down the foundations of every kind of skill. So we have our own Prodigy framework where we lay down every skill known to human beings. But at that age, we don't know what the child is interested in or what they're good at. Now, when they start going to school, which is post 6 years, the child starts developing their interest. And what we would really love for the schools to do is to be able to cultivate that interest, which I think most schools are not able to do. And you were talking about it, how you are trying to do it, which is why I asked whether you do it in a structured way. Because at that age, this child has that interest and that capability. Okay, these are the things that I want to do. And if schools can find a way to channelize that, I think that can be really good for the child and obviously good for the school and for the society as a whole. So, I mean, the way that I do it with my own son, for example, is that I gave him a lot of opportunities in the early years. And then I sort of try and tell him, hey, so what are your superpowers? And these are the things that are your superpowers. Now he thinks that, okay, these are my superpowers. That means that I'm really good at it. So those are the things that he's actually interested in. But now he's getting that self of empowerment that, oh, these are my superpowers. That means that I'm actually good at it. But what I'm actually trying to do is align his interest with self-belief.
Wow.
And when his interests get aligned with the self-belief, oh, I'm good at it, he tries more on that, and it's just like a natural path, right? And then, and what happens then is also that the child starts thinking, oh, okay, but I'm also good at this, I'm also good at this, I'm also good at... They want to be good at everything, right? So then I say, okay, no, these are your superpowers, and these are all your other powers that you have, because a superhero can have a lot of powers.
Right.
So that's so that's, I would say, just finding the way how to cultivate their own interest in schools.
So I have this thing, children until 7 or 6 or 7 are just absorbing things, right? They're super absorbers.
Yeah.
They absorb a lot of things, but they don't know why they are doing it.
Yeah.
They can't fathom, how am I going to use it in the future? And they don't know
Of
this.
course.
They
Yeah.
don't even know this word called future, right?
Yeah.
What is future?
Yeah.
And I wake up in the morning and that's all I know. Between 7 and 12 is when they start to form these things about, oh, if I do this, I get this.
Huh.
If I do this, I get rewarded or I get punished. Or I pay penalties for this. So that's the age of 7 to 12 when they start to realize this, right? And then at 12 or probably between 12 and 14 is when they start to think about, they start to analyze things. Oh, if I can do this, then this, then this, then this, right? The next, second, third, fourth step, and so on and so forth. So that's how I think children or humans grow up to be, right? Now, what could we do as schools to pick up from where you leave off and say, okay, this at 6 you're telling them superpowers and this. can we get something of that framework to say between 7 and 12, this is what, if the schools can do this, between, like you have a framework for 2 to or 1 to 6, do you think it's possible to develop a framework between 7 to 12 to get the kids more interested? And I'll tell you where we lose the kids as a school. Every teacher and parent is focused on the child until they are 7 or 8. Everybody's super focused on them. Right? The teacher is focused, the parent is focused, everybody's focused on the child. Between the 9 or 10th year till until the 13th or 14th years, everybody is not focused on them. Or rather, nobody's focused on them.
Nobody's focused on them,
Right? Nobody's focused on them. They find friends. And 14 years or 13 years in, when everybody wakes up, oh, you got a board exam. The board exam is coming up. So everybody wakes up at that point in time. What could we do to solve this problem between 7 to about 12 or 13 to say, how do you keep the kids still interested, focused, and do things? Do you have a recommendation for schools that if you were to do this, or if you can think about these things, or if you can try these things, kind of a thing, right? So we keep children engaged, and they stay with their superpowers, as you call it, right? And then they are now 12, and they are actually willing and ready to use their superpowers to go from 12, 13 years to about the 18th, 19th year.
So I feel that, and by the way, I completely agree that that's what happens, right? And I feel that the reason this happens is because at some point, the teachers, and I'm talking about schools, the teacher realizes that there are some students who will be very good, some students will be average, some students will be bad, right? And they are no longer concerned about every individual student, that we need to make the best out of this, out of every student, right? The teacher's job, the educator's job to make sure that every child achieves their own full potential.
Right.
But what happens, I think, probably involuntarily, that they start looking at the class as a whole, and they want to just take the class as a whole. Doesn't matter who comes first,
right?
Because somebody will.
Right.
And as long as the class average is okay, it's fine. But that is where we sort of fail, in my view, because the teacher's job is no longer to get the best out of every child. They just want that no child should be left behind, which means nobody should fail.
Correct.
And jo acha kar raha hai, wo acha kar raha hai. So if we can find a... Now, why it doesn't happen in the early years is because in the early years, the child doesn't know anything.
True.
And you have to achieve those milestones of, you need to learn how to read. You need to know arithmetic, which is addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. But in that gap after 7-8 years, it's no longer about arithmetic. Math is also just like so much more complex, right? It's not. It's there's geometry and there's algebra will come in and etc. etc. So if there is a framework of focusing on the individual child, like I can tell you like how I try to do it or how we try to do it is by setting yearly goals. I know that there are limitations of what schools can do for my child, right? So, but I also know that the school is great at doing these things, but there are certain other factors that I need to supplement. So what I do is I sort of help my son create a vision board for the year. So he creates a vision board for the year, that these are the things that I want to do, right? And vision board is not like I want to achieve. It is more about I want, for example, he wants to be more kind, right? Like he wants to be more kind. So that is one of the big things on his vision board, that I want to be more kind. Now, as you were talking about, how do we create character traits or virtues in our kids? And that can be practiced, right? It's not something that you just say you have to be kind and you have to practice it. So once he puts it on the vision board, then okay, we figure out ways how we can be more kind.
Yeah.
Or I want to be able to talk more with my teachers and my coaches because I'm not able to express myself. Now that's not like, okay, I want to win a trophy, right? It's just something that I want to develop as a personality. Now these things the school cannot do because there are 40 kids,
Right.
and somebody wants to be more kind, but somebody wants to be more aggressive because they are very passive.
Right.
So, but if the school can create a structure where each individual child has their own goals and a way to achieve those goals or work towards it. And by the way, like if you ask him, he will, at the end, so he has a vision board, and at the end of the year, he will take his vision board and say, okay, these are the things that I did. And if he didn't do something, he'll say, I tried, but I'm not there yet. I'm working on it.
Very good.
Right. So
Excellent.
so I think
okay.
Because there are things that are skill based, like math, reading, etc., and there's things that shape you, and those are the things that actually will take you ahead.
Absolutely. So I have the reason I asked you this question is that we are trying an experiment in school.
Yeah.
We call it special study plans, right? Student specific, specific study plan for a student.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't go into the vision board that the child wants to
Yeah.
do. But then the teacher observes and thinks that you are good. I see that it seems to be coming naturally to you. For example, she looks at, oh, you can paint very easily. Not everybody can do that painting.
Yeah.
You look at a picture and then you can draw it. But not every kid can do it. But then there is another kid who will look at something, read it, and he will memorize it. For the first reading, you ask him again, he'll put the book down and say what is written in the book, right? So he can just quickly memorize things like that. So teachers observe these things in class. And then we figured that, oh, maybe Raghav can learn his science this way, by painting pictures more often than writing text.
Yeah.
Right? That probably will make Raghav more interested in science or more interested in the subject that he's. So then the child is asked to practice that at home. And we can't do it in class because of what you said, because we have 40 kids in the class, right? So we will not be able to customize it for every child in the classroom, but we can customize it for the child the way they go home and practice what is taken up in the class, right?
Yeah.
So that part we have just now introduced that this past 6 months to see, okay, I'm giving you a specific plan.
And this is for which age group?
For the age groups between grade 3, so 8 years to about 12, 13 years.
Right.
So we tell them, go home and try this.
Yeah.
Go home and do this. Your specific study plan is like this.
Yeah.
I want you to try it this way, this way, this way. Do these 5 steps for the next week.
Yeah.
Right? And let's see how you pick this up or how you do better in this. And I don't know if it is going to yield results, but it just started this. And it looks like we got a nice name for it called specific study plan.
Yeah.
We also do, how do we come to that plan is done by another special name called KYC, Know Your Child, right? So the teacher who teaches math, English, the language, the local language, regional language, and the science teacher sit together. And then they discuss Raghav as a student. How is Raghav in your class? How is Raghav in your class? How is Raghav in your class? How does he respond? What does he respond to? Blah, blah, blah. Right? So we got a list of things that I observed and the other 3 teachers observed about Raghav. Now I have a picture which has 4 opinions, probably similar, probably identical, probably differing. And then we come up with what we think is Raghav's best way of learning something.
So I think the only thing that I'll add here, but I think is very critical, is to get the child's and the parents' view as well.
Exactly. So we're right now missing that.
And it shouldn't be that hard, right? They could record a video, they could write in piece of paper. What are your goals? What do you struggle with? What are you think are your strong suits? And it might be that, because when a teacher does it, the teacher compares. So there are 40 students. You're talking about a student X. They're looking at X compared with other 39 students.
True.
So whether you are good at math or not, in comparison with other 39 students. When a child is doing it, the child is saying whether I'm good at math compared to all other things I am good at or not. Right? Which is a big difference, because a child might think I'm good at math, but teacher might think he's average at math. And that's a extremely important thing, because if I think I'm good at math, if I get the opportunities, then I will become good at math.
Right. I get it.
Right? Because I have that bbelief, and it's a lot about belief, because I know I'm good at math, but I'm average in class because nobody has taught me properly, or I have not got the opportunity, but I'm feeling that I'm good at math, so I can be. So that is extremely important. And sometimes kids exhibit very different behaviors in school and at home.
True.
So getting that parent's voice, and it might come as a complete surprise that, oh, my child is, blah, 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 but teachers are like, okay, but this is not what we feel. So there is something that we are missing over here.
Right.
And but I think this is a super idea what you guys are trying. But getting the voice of the child and the parent.
Yeah, so that's a good point. That we will have to add it into the mix and figure out what the child thinks and what does the parent see at home.
Yeah.
Right. So probably mixing it all together, we might get closer to the answer. I don't know if we will get the answer.
And also more buy-in, right?
More buy-in.
More buy-in from because you're wanting them to do it at home.
Yeah.
And if their voice is not heard, or if they're just like, oh, okay, this is, we don't agree with it. Child is just like, oh, okay, whatever, you've given me some homework.
Right.
You don't want it to be a homework for the child.
Right now,
if I make a vision board for my son, he's not going to. He, of course, I make it with him, but he has to have complete buy-in. And if he says no, it's his veto power. Right.
True.
Yeah.
So that mix is what we have to do. Great. So what other things should we learn from? Why this raising stars? What? I know you were not into this a few years ago.
Yeah.
How did you get into this?
Well, so as I think you said, I graduated from Stanford in 2008. I came to India. I was literally doing transportation for 10, 12 years, which is a completely different business, right? The reason that I got into what I'm doing today is because I, fortunately or unfortunately, ended up going to schools and colleges where I was always surrounded with extremely smart kids, right? Like, even in India, I went to DPS RK Puram, where people were like, 4 people from my batch were in top 100 in IIT.
Right.
4 people, right? Like, that's a lot. And there's so many kids who got in, and I didn't get in. And I used to study a lot. I used to work hard, right? I went to Stanford, and in Stanford, literally the founder of Instagram was in my graduating class. So you can imagine, right? And all the big tech companies come out of there, and people were like super smart. And at some point I started thinking, boss, I'm working so hard. I come like from the same kind of background that these guys have. It's not like they have some special privilege. How come these guys get it so easy and I don't? Right? Like, that was my thing. And I discovered at some point that 90% of our brain gets developed before 6 years, 75% developed before 2 years of age.
Right.
And so all our foundational skills of problem solving, of cognition, of intelligence, creativity, etc., are actually getting developed in those years, and then it stays with you for life, right? And then when I start thinking about it, I think about, okay, who do I know who is good in sports? And the same person was good in sports as a child when they were in school, and they're still good at 60 years of age.
Right.
Who do I know who cannot sing at all? And they've never been able to sing. They're not able to sing as a child. They're not able to sing as an adult. It's not like suddenly they started becoming a good singer.
Right.
So it provided like intuitive proof that yes, foundational skills are actually developed as a child. So when my son was born, I was like, okay, let me do all that I can for him so that he doesn't have to like work as hard as I had to, and so he has it easy. Basically, that was that. And then when I started doing it for him, then I saw like, okay, there are some good results that are coming out of it, and nobody else is doing it. Everybody started saying, okay, can you tell us also what to do, etc. And then, so then that's how it started. and then we saw that nobody else was doing it, and there was a lot of demand. People were wanting to do it. So we started it as a very, very small thing, just to help out our friends and family. And then it started from there. Yeah. So then we created a structure around it. We got like a lot of experts from around the world. I did a lot of research, like literally like hundreds of hours of research, reading about it, studying about it, all kinds of things. We created our own framework and system, and yeah.
Excellent.
So that was
Excellent.
it.
Something that you said. So you didn't want. You said something like, "I don't want my son to work as hard. I want him to have it a little easy." Right.
Yeah.
I want to expand on that
Yeah.
and caution parents to say, don't think like that and don't tell the children like that.
Yeah.
I want your life to be easy. No. I don't want you to struggle as hard as I struggled in this aspect of life.
Yeah.
But I do want you to struggle and do something far more, work harder to create. I'll give you an example. Today I tell my children in school, don't work hard to get a job. Work hard to give a job. Work hard to get a job was your dad's.
Yeah.
He did it. He had to work hard to just secure a job and secure a life.
Yeah.
You probably don't have to, right? But you still have to work hard.
Yeah.
But now change that goal to working hard not to get a job, because now that has to be easy because you're going to good school and getting a good education, etc. So flip that to say, how can I work hard to give a job, or not just one, but several, right?
Yeah.
So I think somewhere the message is right. I don't think parents intend to tell their children don't work hard or don't do things.
Yeah.
They don't intend to do that.
Yeah.
But then the message comes out as the kids feel, oh, I don't have to work hard because my dad thinks that I don't have to work hard. Some parents come and tell me, oh, I don't think marks are important. I don't want my child to. No. Please don't say that. If your child can, he should. Because there are several who can't. And if those who can don't do it, who will?
Yeah.
Right? So we got to push kids to work hard, to do things and do that. That is an ethic.
Correct.
Right?
So I think that's more of a sentiment rather than
Exactly. I get it.
than something that you actually desire. So it's like a sentiment that my child should have a good life.
Right.
It doesn't mean that they shouldn't work hard. They
True.
have to work hard. Without working hard, you cannot have a good life.
Right.
But you always feel that, can I provide my family a better life than I did? And it's passed on from generation to generation.
True.
You always want that.
Let's expand that to, can I provide for my family and another 5 more families who can't provide for themselves? So then you are now that's true inclusivity, right? So you're now including, can I extend my good to 10 others?
Yeah.
Or 100 others or 1,000 others, as much as you can, right? So the more we tell kids, and I've seen kids do well and work harder when you actually tell them you're helping somebody else.
Oh, okay.
I've seen kids, you have to do this well because you will get, can you teach this guy because he can do it if you teach him? And then I find kids, yes, I will do it, sir.
Yes.
Right? Now they are ready to do it.
Yeah.
But for themselves, they are like, oh, I know, I don't have to do it.
Interesting.
Right? So now, how do you get the kid to work harder than what he is doing? Is to give him a goal which is small, accomplishable, and he's willing. Right?
And
he feels
immediate.
that. Yeah, it's immediate.
Yeah.
It's immediate. It's like, I want to help this kid.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So now, when you are teaching the other kid, you are reinforcing those
Of course.
within yourself.
Yeah.
And so I found ways to twist this with a few children in the school to say, do this and try this and do that. And they're willing.
Yeah.
The point is, we don't tell them to try that. We always, somehow our messaging goes across as, this is not important, that is not. Stop saying that and start saying, can you? Can this? Can that? Would you?
Yeah, I think that's a great point because especially in India, there's an obsession with us wanting kids to be obedient.
Obedient. True.
And by definition, nobody wants to be obedient because they don't want to be in somebody else's control and power.
True.
They want to have their individual identity no matter how old they are. So if you give them the reason to have their own identity and raise their own status and respect, even if they are a child, that works very well, right? So when you are saying that you are teaching another child, that's giving them, whoa, I'm teaching, okay. That means that I have status, I have respect.
Exactly.
And that is much better than saying you have to do this because I said so. No, you are demeaning the child. So they don't want to do it. They want to rebel.
True.
Yeah.
So these are small things which, if we change the way we put it across to them,
Yeah.
it will propel them to do something bigger.
Yeah.
It's not that we intend wrong when we say the other way.
Yeah.
It's just that
Correct.
we don't think of how do I get him to do something,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You think about it as if I say he will do it. No, he's not going to do it if you say it.
Or he might do it, he or she might do it, but they are doing it only to please you and not learning anything, not doing it with the best of their ability.
True.
And internally, they're also rebelling.
Yeah.
It happens all the time, right? When you have like very strict households, you think that, and later on they become like the most rebellious people as they grow older. Yeah. Thanks for joining us on the show. It was absolutely a fascinating conversation, and I had a great time. I hope you enjoyed it.
I did. I
So
enjoyed.
thank you so much.
It's worth coming all the way here to meet you.
Yeah.
To meet you in person and your team here.
Thank
You're
you
doing
so
an
much.
excellent job.
Yeah. Thank
Keep
you.
it up.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.